What's up, everybody? This is Alex Skerlich with Rage and Recover, and you're listening to the Pursue Vegas podcast.
The idea of Pursue Vegas was to really highlight the local people that really make Vegas, Vegas.
I love that aspect of how these visionaries are actually bringing people together.
When we hit record, our responsibility is to connect the people of our city so we can show the world who we really are. Welcome back to the Pursue Vegas podcast. I'm your host, Dave Berlin.
And I'm your co-host, Tani Nguyen.
And should we tell them?
Should we? Do you know?
Tell him.
Do you know?
We're absolutely excited.
I don't know nothing.
We are absolutely excited for today's guest. Man, I remember, I'm trying to figure out where I met you. I want to say it was at the pool. It was at the pool at one of Damon D'Amato's breathwork events.
You're talking about Elia Beach Club?
Elia Beach Club, like the very first time maybe. And
I think that might be, for some reason I'm thinking like 18 bin or something, but it could have been.
It could have been. We're going to call it that day because only I can nail it down. That was July 3rd, 2021.
Oh, very nice. Very specific memory.
Very specific. It was the first one that they did there. Mm-hmm. And it was what was really powerful about that. It was like we did a breathwork thing there.
Yep.
And then afterwards, everybody got to go to Elia Beach Club, and it was Dead Mouse.
Oh, yeah. It was
wicked.
That was a really cool experience.
And I was like, bro, you look like a Lesso, but you're not a Lesso, so tell it.
No, hey, so I heard from a little mouse that you got into some parties because you look like a Lesso.
Actually, yeah.
What's the story?
I got into Encore Beach Club one time, like not dressed to fit the vibe at all. I was wearing like my house Birkenstocks, no socks, no shoes, like short shorts and like a button-up shirt. And I was meeting a group of friends at the club, and I was struggling to find them. They had gotten in line. I was a little bit behind. I'm usually like, you guys are lucky I got here on time because I'm usually like 30 minutes late to mostly everything, including my own events.
So I'm gonna put you on my Asian time list to where I tell people it's an hour ahead of anything that we do.
Perfect.
Got you.
So I'm late, right? And they're getting let into the club, and they have a table. They're like in the cabana. It's all said and done. And I'm like, oh shit, I missed my opportunity. Now I'm gonna have to go wait in this long line. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, there's the artist line. And I just meandered up to it, just casually. I just walked up, and there was no questions asked, no hesitation. They opened up the line for me. They walked me in. I got into the club and directed to the cabana that I was supposed to be at before all of my crew that had already been let in through the entrance.
God.
And they were being walked through security and everything. And so by the time they got there, I was already at the cabana. I was like, welcome to my cabana. And it was my buddy Wally who was like dropping bands to pay for it. So I was just like, that's pretty cool. And, you know, they never specified who they thought I was, but enough people have called me a Lesso for me to understand.
You're like, if the shoe fits, I'm going to wear it. You know?
That's great. Well, you're not a Lesso.
Nope.
But you are in the same world.
I am.
So tell us all things you, man. What are you working on? What are you excited about? Let's go.
I'm very excited. I'm very determined. I've been working on this brand, Rage and Recover, relentlessly for the last 5 years now. Before I got involved with Rage and Recover, which is a artist agency, event company. We do production, promotion. We do all things EDM. Before I got involved with that, I was doing corporate events. And so I was in the corporate event space for about 7 years. Various positions, mostly on the management side, technical operations, technical solutions, setting up hardware. But I've worked events from, 10,000 to 60,000+ in that realm. And when COVID hit, I kind of had a redirection. I wasn't really passionate about the corporate event space, but I definitely learned a lot. I got a lot of valuable lessons and insight and experience. And I got really, really bored in the first month of the pandemic. And I started to go like stir crazy and get like the cabin fever. And, obviously, it's a little distasteful for some, but I decided to take it upon myself and get my CDJs out and go get a generator, plug in out in the middle of the desert, start playing music, and I just needed an escape for myself, you know, and I figured there were other people who needed that as well, because it was so culture shocking, you know. It was like a massive change of pace for everyone.
Especially for people in the event space. Though.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
100%.
Yeah. And so, you know, as many people saw it as a door closing, I saw a massive avenue of opportunity. And so I just hit the ground running. And as soon as, like, the first, like, regulations were lifted, I got my first, like, venue gig, Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Sold it out.
Yeah.
Line wrapped around the building. I was shook, like to my core. I looked over the railing at Commonwealth and I was like, oh my God. And like, it was the first feeling of like, oh, we're actually doing this thing, you know? Yeah. And so, you know, from that day on, it was just collaboration after collaboration, trying to get the reps in, trying to get my 10,000 hours and asking for opportunities, providing value in whatever way I could, promoting, you know, marketing for other people's events, social media posts for up-and-coming artists, for up-and-coming event companies, all of it. I just did free labor. You know, I was like, I need to get my reps in. I need to establish myself as someone in this market, because corporate to EDM, big difference.
Absolutely.
Big shift. Same concept overall, but way different approach.
There's a lot of logistics that are the same. Man, you hit so many things, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so glad you're here.
Me too. No wonder my soul recognizes his soul. Anyone that comes out from the event space, especially corporate, like kind of speaks to me, especially weddings and weddings, you know. So this is the triangle right now.
Well, it's the same thing though too, right? Because I've talked about this before. Like, I came from the wedding world, like 750 weddings over the last 15 years, all across the United States. There's a lot of things that are the same as you go from the wedding world into corporate world, but corporate into EDM, there's a lot of logistics that are the same, but like I've told people, like, I don't go from DJing weddings to like, I don't get to just be Cascade tomorrow, right? It just, and that's, I'm getting older, right? We're all getting older. That may not be the path, but like, I've been looking at what cruise lines might look like, because cruise lines are like cool, but they're like still kind of a general audience that I've got to cater to like I would at a wedding. For sure. It's different because, first of all, you've let me, I've been at some of your events before, and I'm just like, I'm a little overwhelmed, because I'm like, oh, like, this is like the real EDM. Like, I got like Don't Stop Believing like in the queue, and then it was just like, go sit over there, bro. But no, especially for people, the other part too is, especially coming out of pandemic, you may see this too, and we've talked a little bit about this stuff. This town here in Vegas, through pandemic, it paralyzed. Again, I wasn't here in 2008. A lot of people compare, this to 2008. I wasn't here for that. I know it was pretty bad. I get it. But at the same time, it wasn't closed doors on the casino. Right. It did not shut down the way it did. And what's interesting is, you mentioned Commonwealth. Friend of the show, Sean Seville.
Love Sean.
Sean's great. I grew the whole wedding DJ business for him. We're going to have him on the show in like a whole wedding series.
It's amazing.
But for Corner Bar kind of really held together through that. Yeah. And they were like the first people to fire back up. So as soon as things were able to kick off, they did that. But I believe that a lot of people in this town, you were here way before me. I'd only been here like a year. A lot of people that thought they knew what they were doing just kind of like either gave up and left, or they just couldn't sustain themselves through the pandemic. Yeah. So I felt like for you and for a lot of us, it was kind of like, we get to level up now, and it's like the next generation of events and culture really got to step forward.
Oh, absolutely. I see it, you know, even today, like 5 years down the road. Or
it's
4.5.
5 years.
4.5, I guess, technically.
Wow. Where did 5 years of our lives gone?
Yeah, it's wild.
Further.
But even today, I see, you know, new event companies popping up, new talent that are bringing, you know, other things to the table that 5 years ago, you know, I was in that position. I was like, oh, I'm the new kid on the block. You know, I'm like trying to make a name, trying to make some noise. And like, realistically, it's hard to sustain a party event company, you know, long term, especially when there's so many different options. We're in Las Vegas of all places, right? There's competition everywhere you look.
Yeah.
But I always like to venture into collaboration over competition because, you know, it's all community driven. It's all based on the people. Like, I'm just some guy in Vegas, you know. I like to do.
Did you do that hat?
Did I do this hat?
Yeah.
No, but
That's
my
perfect.
buddy had this hat,
yeah.
and I was like, you don't even wear that. I'll wear that every day. Give it to me. And he gave it to me.
Give it to me right now.
He gave it to me.
Well, now I'm going to do the same thing to you.
Yeah, right?
I was like, give it to me.
It's yours.
No, man, I'm glad you really hit on some heavy stuff there because it was a unique transition. And yeah, there's always going to be new competition that pops up and things like that. But what is it that you think, because your ethics are uncanny, bro. I love it. I love everything about you. But like, what is it for you that matters the most when it comes to events and people and community and collaboration?
Ooh, I mean, it's kind of like a deep, you know, deep thing. You know, it's like it almost stems from childhood. I think, you know, it's like a sense of belonging, right? And so I always like wanted to fit into crowds. You know, I was always looking for an opportunity for me to fit in, and I always struggled, like, honestly, because I just didn't understand what drove other people, you know. My thing was always like connecting with people. Like, I get fueled, I get recharged from people, you know. So creating an atmosphere that is safe, that is consistent, reliable, and provides you with, you know, a healthy balance of fun, but also, you know, being safe while being fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everyone can throw a party. I was throwing parties when I was 16 years old at my friends' houses when their parents were out of town. You know, like, everyone can throw a party.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, no,
sorry, Ben.
Those were the good days.
No, for real. Sorry, Chris. Yeah. Like, his house got ruined. I swear to God, ruined. And like, anyone can throw a party. Not anyone can throw a good party. Not everyone can throw a quality, safe experience that you're checking off. You know, you're making sure your attendees are catered to, you know, respected and safe, right? There's no...
And old enough.
And old enough, right, yeah. And like, and creating just the platform for artists to come and perform and have a good encounter with the community.
Exactly.
And that's always been my driving force, is to create this space, because I never had that. I always looked for it. I was striving to find it. I couldn't find it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it the way that I think that I can. And I've been doing my best to create that.
Well, you've been doing great. And so what's the story in the background? One of the things for us here with the show is it's obviously, you know, we have all these incredible people on the show, but Vegas is the star, right? Everyone has a different relationship with what they believe Vegas to be. Some people grew up here, some people left here and came back, and then some people, you know, are just now moving here. Like, there's literally 100 new people, if not more, like, driving into town today,
right?
Like, with hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams. I drove out here in a rental car one way. There's people, like, the way that people used to go to California to be an actor and actress. There's people that are coming out here because this city calls to them. So what's your relationship with Las Vegas? What's your story?
Yeah, how long have you been out here, by the way?
I was born in Las Vegas. I went to college in Reno. And so I was up there for 4 years and moved back to Vegas just before, like, in the end of 2019, I believe. I moved back to Vegas. So I've been here for that much time. Yeah, my whole life, barring 4 years. But I used to hate Vegas, to be honest, when I was growing up here, because, like, as a minor in Las Vegas, there's not a whole lot that you can do. Like, everything fun, you know, entertainment-wise, leads to trouble, right, for kids. It leads to parent trouble, community trouble, or, you know, police trouble even, right? So, like, you're out past curfew, you're in trouble. You know, like you get caught with a beer in your hand, you're in trouble. Like whatever it might be. So like growing up, I didn't find a whole lot of hope in Las Vegas, and I had like a bad view of nightlife. You know, I grew up, I went to Catholic schools. I played on a club soccer team for my entire life. You know, I had a very structured like upbringing that was sheltered from everything else, right? But you can't get away. You can't escape the billboards with the strippers on them. You can't escape the escort car billboards that are driving down Las Vegas Boulevard. You know, it's like, so you get exposed to certain things like, you know, obviously like Sin City, sex sells, there's drugs, there's booze. Like that's our ethos. Our economy.
Yeah. That's the ethos. Yeah.
Like if you're not selling booze at your events, you're
selling sex or selling drugs.
Well, I mean, if you're not hitting those points, then you're not successful in this city. Is what it really came down to. And like, I learned that from like an early teenage life like view. I was like, oh, I don't really like Vegas. It doesn't really have anything for me. And so it wasn't until after I went to college and had some like different life experiences that like gave me a different appreciation for Vegas. I was like, wait, what do you mean I can't go and get food at midnight anywhere?
Anywhere.
Like, what do you mean I can't go buy a 6-pack from the gas station? You know, it's like...
And then get a massage in the same plaza.
yeah, exactly. You know, whatever it is. And like, realistically, like, the appreciation for Vegas came when I wasn't in Vegas. And so when I came back to Vegas, I was seeking the opportunities that Vegas had, you know? And so my view now is way different because without Vegas, I don't have what I have, right? I don't have the community, I don't have the company, I don't have the ability to go play an event for 1,000 people. Without Vegas, it's not really feasible.
Yeah.
But hopefully, you know, in the coming year, I don't have to rely on solely Vegas for my marketplaces. You know, I can tap into the LA market, Denver, you know, go out of state a little bit.
I love that. And I think sometimes traveling out of state can actually help, right? Because it doesn't just like give you that, creates that new thing again, which is very exciting whenever you really get into, you know, events and creating those spaces. But also sometimes you're kind of that guy from out of town with the briefcase. You're like, oh, you're the dude from Vegas. Like they level up and they expect bigger things. One of my favorite things too, and I know Tanya will get excited about this because I didn't tell her anything about you. I was just like, Alex is coming.
Cool.
But you talk about all of this stuff, like, but you also live the sober lifestyle. So how did that see? So how did that, when did that start? And then where, you know, how do you look at this community now?
That's another, you know, it's a heavy topic. I decided to become sober for a variety of reasons. It wasn't any one thing that pushed me over, or, you know, it was a domino effect that I consistently saw negativity being birthed from being involved in settings that I was consuming drugs or alcohol, or, you know, the people around me were. And that, you know, sadly took a few lives of people that I know very well, that some of my best friends in the world, actually. It's 2 in the same year. And it's just like, it really impacted my life in a really negative way. Like, it made me spiral. And so I hit the bottle, you know, like instead of like, you know, seeing that as an opportunity to escape, I got deeper into it, and I started using like alcohol as a crutch, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to numb myself from feeling the pain that I felt from losing like really dear friends, and it led me down. You know, I got in trouble a few times. I got in trouble with my family, with my friends, girlfriends. You know, making stupid decisions, staying out all night. You know, not showing up to appointments, or like missing work, or whatever it might be. And it was actually my 24th birthday that really had a big shift. It wasn't even the decision-making point, but it was a very, very monumental experience. It was my birthday, which fell on Thanksgiving that year, and I got arrested, and I went to jail. And normally, you know, for what I got arrested for, it was a DUI.
Yeah.
Normally, you get out, you know, 12, 24 hours, no biggie. They slap you on the wrist, tell you to get the fuck out. But
then you pay a lot of money.
And then you pay a lot of money. Yeah. But in this circumstance, it was a holiday weekend, and there was no judges on duty, you know. So I sat there in jail for 4 days. And this is the first time I've ever made this public information, mind you. Wow. So
thanks for being real, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And so ultimately, I didn't let that be my, you know, deterring factor for booze either. I got out, and I got my phone back, and I had like 300 missed messages, calls. Everyone's like, wish me happy birthday.
Wow.
Hey, man, happy Thanksgiving. Hey, man, you okay? Like, where are you at? You know, like everybody, all my friends, even people that aren't necessarily my friends, like acquaintances, you know, those Facebook messages. Yeah. You get happy birthday. No response to any crickets. So, you know, I get out, and my initial thought is I have to respond to these people. I have to engage. So I decided to throw a party on the weekend after for my birthday. And it was really great gathering. You know, all my friends came together, and I got really, really drunk the entire weekend, which then led into like a 4-week like drinking escapade, because I was like,
then the holidays.
It was the holidays. Yeah. I was really upset with myself, so like, you know, double down on the numbing.
Yeah, guilt, shame.
Yeah, everything, all of that. And so I went ham, and like come Christmas Eve, almost a full month later, I'm looking at my counter in my house, which the big island counter full of bottles. There's like 7 bottles of Jameson that were like me. Nobody else. There's tons of other alcohol that other people would, you know, touch, but 7 bottles of Jameson in like that short period of time, just solely me. And I realized, I was like, I have a fucking issue with, it wasn't alcohol, but it was myself. Yeah. I had an issue with myself. And that morning, I felt so ill, like physically, mentally. I felt beaten down. I felt discouraged, depressed. I was so upset with myself. And I had this moment, you know, I went from my bedroom to my bathroom, turned on the shower as hot as it went, sat down in the tub, and just let it rain down. And I don't know how long I was in there. I could have been in there for 2 hours for all I know. Yeah. And I cried and cried and cried and just released so much pent-up shit. Yeah. And in that shower, I was like, today is going to be a day of change. And in my head, the entire time, I was teetering on killing myself or making a massive change in my life. And it was the most difficult decision ever, because I was leaning into giving up so hard. I was like, I don't want this. This is not the life I want. I'm doing terrible, you know? And I wasn't. I just thought I was. But I made a decision in that moment. I was like, what's one thing that has been consistently fucking up my life? And I was like, being fucked up has been fucking up my life. Yeah. And so, you know, 24 isn't that old, but it's not, you're not a kid anymore either. You don't get the same, you know, pardonings. Yeah. Like, it's time to fucking wake up, you know? And so I told myself, I was like, I'm going to go 6 months sober. I'm going to see if I can do it. I'm going to see if I can do it just for myself, to make sure I don't have like an alcoholism problem, to make sure it's like something that I can conquer. And, you know, I got out of that shower, and from that day on, I said no. And that was the strongest lesson that I got from that is like turning people down, saying no to things constantly. Like I lived in a party house, you know, everyone in my house was involved in some nightlife or something or other, drinking, partying, doing all the things. And it was really hard at first, you know. The first month was like constant reminders to everyone around me. It's like, no, I'm taking a break, you know. I don't want it. And like I'm in the nightlife, so I'm going out to clubs, promoting events, throwing my own events. People are offering me shots. I'm still saying no. I get to 6 months. I'm like, okay, 6 months, did it. I don't feel a need. I don't feel any wanting for it. I'm going to go another 6 months. I'm going to go a year. And I get to a year, and I'm like, man, this is easy. You know, it's like, it's not even a question anymore. This is easy. And so I was like, I'm going to go for as long as I can. And I decided I'm going to set a goal in my head just for like, you know, I set a 6 month goal. I set another goal for a year. I want to set a goal that I can attain. And so I decided at that year mark, I was like, I'm going to reconsider drinking or, you know, whatever, celebrating life with friends over a beverage, whether it be a shot of tequila or champagne. I'll reconsider when I have $1 million revenue from my business. And so that's what I've been working on. I've been working on making my business as profitable as possible, still providing opportunities for others. And in the process, I've influenced tens of people to quit drinking, quit doing drugs.
I love it.
And truthfully, that's way more important than the money factor. Like the influence that I've had over others that I've seen and I've witnessed their lives change. And I didn't even realize the changes that were occurring in my life because I was in it. But then when I started to see how positively the lack of drinking and lack of doing drugs was impacting the others around me, I was like, oh, shit, we're on to something here.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's been like kind of the MO for the business. Like I want to make a space where you don't have to go get fucked up to party. You can if you want to. So be it. Cool. I'm not. There's no judgment here. I mean, I'm not like a stranger to it. It's not like it's, you know, something that I've always been against. Yeah. It's just now I have other priorities that I focus on that are way bigger than drinking. Like I don't look at the weekend. I look at 5 years down the road. Like I'm not worried about Saturday night. I'm worried about whether or not my business is going to be, you know, pushing the annual music festival that I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
You know?
By 2030.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. No, that's
how long has that been now?
Crazy.
Since I quit drinking and doing drugs, like over 4 years. Huh. It was 4 years, and that was December 24th, 2020. So.
Wow.
Damn, that hits home on so many levels, especially in the beginning, since you said we're kind of like the misfits, the ones that could never find community or belong. And belonging and I guess fitting in is two different things, but people chase it for the same reason because you just want to feel connected to people. So as I'm listening to your story, that's kind of how I got into EDM at 12 years old, you know, in the abandoned warehouses, and there's just DJs throwing music and you don't know what the hell you're taking. It was ecstasy, and it's the experimental portion of it with drugs and alcohol and things that helps you escape the reality of, you know, bad childhood, getting beat up at school, and all of the things that we face in reality that we don't understand what other kids are going through.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that. It kind of enlightens kind of how me and Dave share it. It's just you had that moment at 24 and I had it at 32. So it was a little bit later. But sometimes you kind of sit there in the shower of your life, and it's just kind of like one moment you wake up, you're just so sick of everything that you're doing, and everything just feels like shit. And sometimes, you know, when we talk about rock bottom, like you sometimes have to hit it, and it's the best thing that'll ever happen to your life.
Man.
You know, because some people are just lying to themselves, and they keep carrying on this thing that they think they have to do, or an illusion of who they have to keep being while they're miserable. And that's how Dave and I actually met, was through sobriety.
Wow.
Not at an AA meeting or anything, but it was through podcasts just like this when I was sharing my story. Not in depth, right? But just a little bit of the things that I've been struggling with since I've been sober for 2 years. And the first year is the hardest, the first 6 months, and over explaining yourself. and losing the illusion of what friendships are and the things that you used to do while you're drinking and making bad business decisions just because you think everyone's your friend and wants to do business with you.
Right.
So I woke up to a reality to where like my whole life has been a lie, doing corporate events, wedding, and things that just immerse me in so much alcohol and drugs, and being a bartender too. Doesn't help, right? Because that's how I connect with people. So I share a lot of that with you. It's just like something within you that you just want to talk to somebody. And sometimes you just want to feel heard, but you don't know who it is that you're talking to.
Right.
And it feels like you're kind of just shooting the shot in the dark here when you share certain messages kind of like we are. And you understand that so much more people are going through dark places that they can't share because social media now it's, you know, reaching a capacity of a different illusion that most people think people can't connect to because everyone is successful, but everyone's actually struggling, and they're just hiding the way that they're living through fake stuff that they're posting about their lives, you know, and we're all so disconnected and isolated that hopefully whoever that hears this can connect to us individually on why we individually got sober. You in your 20s, me in my 30s, and you in your 40s. And it's just differences in decades, but it's kind of the same life that we face at one point or another, you know? So thank you so much for sharing that. No wonder you kept it off, because I'd be like, because I like tell me the least amount of things I have to know about each person, because I love like the surprise and the serendipitous of just being in conversation and just meeting people and understanding why the universe put us at a table together to have conversations like these, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, this is, first of all, thank you for sharing all that, man. And the first part too, when you said like you'd never shared that publicly, like these are the conversations that matter. Right? Especially for this show, but especially for this city, there are, and to me, I don't believe that there are people that post a lot of fake stuff. Like the jet stuff, a lot of times that's fake. Most people don't post fake to be fake. They do post with the intention for people to see something that they're I feel like people are trying to make the most light out of their situation, and sometimes that tiptoes like bullshit.
Right.
Who is it? Young Pueblo. He says that social media is a forum where humanity talks to itself. So you can, a lot of times, you can really get the pulse of where we're at as a society, which that's a whole thing right now. But in the truth, especially what we want to show is that we've talked about this before. It's like we want to get to the truth. The fact that you're doing the world of business that you are in that whole demographic, in that whole area, and you're sober, that says a lot. And that, but more than that, I think it can show other people. And you don't. It's weird when we like. I stopped drinking. Right. I hit a year. The year is the first year is hard. I still did psychedelics. Like I still like that's always my disclosure. But even that, like now after I hit a year, then I start looking at everything else. And I'm like, okay, I never needed to do that. But there was something where it was just such a thing where I felt like that's where I was going to get all the answers. I did do ayahuasca twice last year.
Whoa.
That is a totally, like that has helped me learn my relationship with everything differently. So that's been, I think that's the catalyst that helps. But just being honest, I know for a fact that there's at least one more person that's going to hear that story that you shared, and it's going to be that belief that I can do it too. So thank you for sharing that, for real.
Well, thank you. I did want to say, you know, you mentioned rock bottom, right? And a lot of people think that rock bottom is like the end of the world. And in reality, I found out that rock bottom is the best place to start. You know, it's the strongest infrastructure that you're going to find, because now the facade of your life that you think you know, it crumbles, you know, and then what is real, it shows through the veil. And so what's left is rock bottom. And quite frankly, there's nothing stronger to put your pillars into than rock bottom, because there's no lower you can go, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it. So I'm grateful, you know, for that experience. Like even though it was hard to see in the moment, even though it was difficult to face, and like the financial strife and everything that came with it, you know, the struggles, the relationships, my parents, you know, disappointment, you know, my friends' disappointment, the fear that I invoked in others about my life, my livelihood, like people thought I died, you know, like like that's crazy. That's crazy. And like I was like, how do I see myself as like a community leader and mislead people, you know? And so I took it upon myself to really hone into my, you know, what I was preaching like to the world. Like my mission statement for me personally, I want to positively influence and impact as many people as humanly possible, right? So like that's been my driving force, and that comes in various formats, like whether it be through music or through publicly speaking or through podcasts or however I can do it. You know, I'm not gonna limit myself to one avenue because that's not my goal. I'm not here to be the best DJ in the world, right?
You're a pretty good fucking DJ.
Oh, thank you.
I'm waiting for my invites.
Girls can't come.
You're invited.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, surprise.
I'm not here to be the best speaker in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be the best podcaster in the world. But like you said, like if there's one person that I can reach, if I can like look at you and impact one person to do the best that you can in your life, then I've hit my goal, right?
Yeah.
So if I can grow on top of that and influence a lot of people all at once in a positive light, then bring it to me.
I want to hit on one thing, and it goes deeper into the mission and vision of the show. I've said this so many times where, you know, our mission is to connect the people of our city so we can show the world who we really are. The vision is that we don't have to change the world. We just have to change the way that the world looks at Las Vegas. And I stole that. I stole it from Tupac. I just changed it because when you said it right there, it's like, I never said that I was going to change the world, but I will spark the mind that does. And sometimes it's that one little spark or that flame that you pass on to the next person. And the fact that it's all music, like to me, music is life. It just is. I don't know how to produce it the way that some people do. I just got in tune with what I saw music do when I grew up at the skating rink, and I wanted to do that for other people. I never would have known that it would be in the world of weddings or at some of your events or some of the other types of events all around town. It's fascinating how music has the power to do that. And you've figured out how to amplify that in such a way and create all of these incredible, you know, safe, cool experiences. Where did you get the inspiration for music and events?
Okay. Music has always been a major factor in my life. Like, my parents have a lot of influence, especially my dad, with like classical music, classic rock even, just early days growing up. And I'm the youngest of 3 boys, so I graciously have 2 older brothers that have also given me a lot of insight and influence on music. Like my oldest brother's 6 years older than me, and so he's got, you know, a little bit more of like the early 90s vibes coming into like, that's what I was listening to. I wasn't listening to the stuff that like my generation was listening to because that wasn't what was influencing me. It was like my older brothers that were giving me like, you know, Eiffel 65 and like, you know, Smash Mouth and, you know, like, so some of these other...
Dang, you dropped Eiffel 65, bro. Dang.
But yeah, I mean, like early days, like growing up, like that was like my jam. And then I got a lot of different insight. I had a grandpa that was really old that had his, you know, input on it. Very close with my family, so a lot of familial influence, right, on culture and music and food and whatever, everything. But I actually didn't like EDM in like the 2008 to 2011, 12 era because my brothers would go to EDC and they'd come back and I wouldn't see the event. I would just see the before and aftermath of my brothers. And I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Why would I want to go to that? Like, you guys look like you got in a fight, you know? Like, they're in bed
like
for
zombies.
2 days and like, you know, so I had this like really,
limping.
had this like very narrow perspective of it. And so I kind of had like some negative insights. Like my idea was like, oh, all those kids are just doing drugs and getting fucked up, and that's all they're doing, and blah blah blah. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was in college where my roommate Ben, which is funny that you mentioned Ben.
I totally made that name up, by the way.
Exactly. And then my other roommate Trace, in college, they were like, "We're going to this music festival in San Francisco."
Love Fest?
It's called it's like Wobble Land at the
I've been wanting
Bill
to go
Graham
to Wobble
Auditorium. They're like, "You should come," and I'm just like, "Nah, no, I'm good." And then like they told me that this girl that I had a huge crush on at the time was going, and I was like, "I'm in."
She's like, "You son of a bitch, I'm in."
I'm there. So like, buy a ticket, send it over to California, and my whole view of everything changed in an instant, Like I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like this is nothing like I anticipated. Yeah. Just like I had such a bad, like I was like, oh, I'm going to walk into a fucking drug and sex fueled fucking fury. And it's just like, it's a fucking party. Yeah. With some big sound systems, some sick lights, and some artists I never heard of. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. Right. And so I had the best time. Yeah. And like people were so friendly and inviting and welcoming, and like I had never been to a rave before, but a lot of these people have been to hundreds of raves, right? So the veterans, they know how to take care of the newbies. Yeah. Show them a good time, And so I remember going to that festival and just my jaw just dropping the entire time, just like every corner. Multi-stage festival, huge acts, smaller acts, everything in between. And then I stumbled upon Res. And I had never like really listened to like mid-tempo or like there was a new genre to me, and like I was like, oh, I know dubstep, it's like, but when you get into the subgenres of like EDM, it's like, oh, I still don't even know all of them. And I fucking been in this shit for a long time now.
There's 3 more invented today.
Literally. And I'm looking at Res and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Like, it hits you in the soul.
Yeah. Like in the gut. It's like comes through you, and it's like I couldn't even help but like start dancing and like I'm just in my head, I'm like watching everyone have such a good time, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And literally from that day on, I've been involved in EDM.
So cool.
That is so cool. I mean, I grew up an emo kid, so forever emo, but bass heads is where I headed, and drum and bass is like, it's my jam. Like, I mean, EDM, I was led into obviously house and techno like back in the days before, the whole trance era. And I still can't really get jiggy with it. It's a little too soft for me. But yeah, like you're right. Something with like the wobble land type of people that gets the most misjudged. Right. Because they're like, oh, like they think like heavy delta. It's just like they think it's just bass. I'm like, no, like you can actually jam to it. Like let the music take you.
Yeah, sure.
And like you don't have to be at the rails getting fucking rammed up there and like shoved. Like you don't absolutely have to be there. Yeah. Like, So that hits on like so many feelings of my eat, sleep, brave days in my 20s.
Well, I have some ancient artifacts that I want to share with you. So it's fun that when you explain it, like, even though we came from different generations of it, like, I remember the first warehouse rave that I went to, it was in like 1996, and it was in a small town in Oklahoma.
That's the year I was born.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so a little bit different generation.
Dating yourself a bit.
But then I remember in 1998, I actually went to a Crystal Method show in a really cool venue in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But then 1999, and I remember dates, but September 30th, 1999, Moonshine Over America was on a tour, and Moonshine was a big label back. Carl Cox was like on the original Moonshine label.
Yeah, Carl Cox.
Yeah. So like that's again dated. They came through and they were on this tour to drop EDM across the country, and they stopped in Oklahoma City, and that was the first one that I really went to, and I was like, wow. And it just happened to be the next year I was in the Marine Corps, and I'm a very patriotic Marine Corps veteran, but I also that was right there at the edge of the rave culture sweeping all of LA, and the very first party that I ever went to, and we're going to do a little shout out. I'm going to manifest here too. Very first party I ever went to was EDC 2000. Whoa. And it was in Tulare. It wasn't even in LA. Whoa. It wasn't even north of LA. It wasn't in San Bernardino. It was in Tulare, which is smaller than Bakersfield.
Is that an Indian reservation?
Something like that. Yeah. It was like it was a little town, but I have the VHS documentary of that,
that's
which
sick.
I'm gonna look right at the camera and say, Pasquale, I have two gifts for you. One, I have the actual VHS documentary of EDC 2000, and I have a gigantic white boombox that I would love to give to you when you come to the show.
Sick.
Because who would have ever thought what he was doing would turn into what it has for not just this city, but for the world. Mm-hmm. And so
crazy.
That's what I got exposed to. So I have that. So it's funny. I have two things. We'll have to find a VCR to watch that video because I haven't seen it in ever.
Oh my God.
But I also have the DVD documentary of that Moonshine Over America tour. Like, so that's that, like what you said, and this isn't to take away from what you said, there's literally people on there that explain the exact same experience, and like you see that history kind of go forward like that. So I have that, and then as like a fun thing, did you ever see the movie Groove?
No.
So I've got that on DVD as well. So we'll have to find DVD players and VHS players
for Grandpa to go down memory lane.
I know, right?
All right, Grandpa, let's get you back inside.
All right, guys, we'll see you later. No, but there's literally so much history to everything that you're doing right there in those movies, because Groove was it's a fictional movie, but it's a warehouse rave in San Francisco, and like John Digweed was like the DJ, and like they all were like so excited. The party gets shut down, they fire back up, and there's definitely the same spirit in kind of what you're building. So I've got those ancient artifacts.
That's so sick. I love that.
We'll have to have a movie night.
Well, it's going to make a comeback in the vintage scene. You remember how like record players, like within the last decade, every hipsters had to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this too, though, like, and again, manifesting Pasquale, would love to interview you on the show. Like, when I got to meet Cascade, the reason why I got to meet Cascade is because I saw a long time ago that he had a collection of boomboxes. I collected boomboxes, and I had one that I found when my grandpa passed away. That was an 8-track player. Whoa. It's an 8-track player. It still had an 8-track in it.
That's sick.
And I was like, I'm going to give this to Cascade at some point. And I kept telling people, and finally somebody was like, dude, I can make that happen. And I was like, oh, okay. So Pasquale, I got a boombox for you. You need to come to the Pursue Vegas podcast and talk about the coolest event in the world.
For sure. I was actually at an Apocalypse Festival, and I was standing in the VIP section, and I look over to my right. I'm brushing shoulders with Cascade. Yeah. He's watching Deadmau5 perform right next to me, and I was like 15 minutes. We're just like, and then I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because he thinks you're a lesso?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, I noticed him, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and I was like, just reached out to shake his hand, because I was like, this is a legend, right?
Yeah.
And he shook my hand, and he just looked at me. He was like, shh.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I love that.
You got it. Like, obviously, he doesn't want to get a bunch of people running up to him, but it was just such a cool, little experience like that, where I was like, whoa, like, that's one of my idols right there. And just vibing. I was like, this is sick.
Yeah.
So
we're all just real people
that.
too.
Right. Yeah. It's so cool that the people that you look up to, aspire to be like, they're just people.
Yeah.
They're looking for the same things that you're looking for.
Don't give me they put their pants on one leg at a time. Yeah, they do. And then they go DJ the fucking Super Bowl, and they get paid $250,000 every time they touch the decks. Yeah, like, it's a little bit different. What kind of pants?
Their pants are a little bit more expensive.
I mean, it's not Wrangler from like Walmart.
He's like, I just put my Air Force Ones on one shoe at a time, but I have 4,000 pairs of Air Force Ones that are one of a kind.
Don't blame him.
Right?
Yeah.
So with that, what's next? Like, I know you've got stuff that's coming up, but like in the vision of what you're talking about, like, what do you see as the next stepping stones? What's the big next step that you're working on?
So, I mean, everything has kind of been a long work in progress. I see like all of my moves are like, they used to be like I needed instant gratification, I needed like the results now, but I've learned that, to expect urgency in every situation results in disappointment frequently. Your expectations will be let down. So I like to storyboard things with enough lead up time so that it doesn't feel like a overwhelming burden on my soul. But I've been working with various like businesses in Vegas, building like some sort of like strategic relationships that can help me build my brand up to be the next thing, right? Versus like we're a cool collective. We're a great group of DJs, producers. We throw awesome events. We all release music, and so I've been working on a record label, Rage and Recover record label.
Nice.
So that's a huge one. That's been in the works for about a year now.
Me and Tanya will do the Christmas album. Just kidding.
That's news to me.
Yeah.
I'm down.
So we're on a record label. I was working with 99.7 radio station here in town, Vibe FM.
Is that the one that they do like EDM and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. They're like the EDM station in Vegas. I think there's 2 now, but they do stuff from California to Arizona. So I got affiliated with them, started working alongside them, bringing them sponsorship deals and stuff. And with that, I've gained access to their studio, and they have a beautiful Dolby Atmos studio there. So Simon, the leader head over there, has been nothing but helpful and insightful, and he's given us opportunities. Like, he's booked all my artists that I manage on the radio for live DJ sets. Multiple of them have done repeat sets. We've thrown events, tandem. We've co-promoted different various things that we're putting on. But through Simon and his record label standing that he's had for a long time, since the mid-'90s, he is allowing me to tap into his label works distribution, which is like something that like you have to be like, it's either costs a lot of money or you have to be like grandfathered in.
Yeah.
And he's been in it for a long time now. So thank God for Shrine Studios, because they're helping me get that record label to distributors that matter versus just like being like another artist self-releasing on SoundCloud,
I was going to say being like one of those guys down on
mixtape.
Trying to give away CDs on the trip.
Yeah, so that's something that is huge that's in the works that I'm really, really excited for. With that comes a lot of new elements of visual arts too. So like storyboarding, album covers, song release covers, media that is moving, interactive, so you're going to have different pieces of content. So then within the production and releasing, you have to streamline the content creation, which is where I've been getting involved with these podcasts, right? Yeah. And I actually started my own podcast called Rare Moments. And it's a silly little play on, me and my co-host. My co-host, his name is Moment. He's a DJ producer here in Las Vegas. And Rage and Recover Entertainment, I've decided to take that and use it as an acronym. Don't question the and.
Yeah.
It's just RARE.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
I use RARE for more family-friendly type of experiences. Like we did the Radiance Festival. It's kind of like branding as RARE versus Rage and Recover, because Rage and Recover has like its very niche perspective. Like people look at that and they're like, oh, rage. Like, oh, that's going to be a rager, right?
Yeah.
And I'm all for
4-day bender.
But but I also like to do, weddings and house events. And
as we have.
Yeah, exactly. So, so then, I don't like to use the Rage and Recover branding as much as the forefront. So Rare Moments was a podcast that we decided to develop so that we could put on, similarly to you, the Vegas personnel, but we're targeting artists, producers, musicians, venue owners, managers, booking agents. We're trying to get the inside scoop for the guys like me, right, that want to start something and don't know where to begin. And so, I have some experience now, and I have no shame in throwing some information to people that want to get started. And so
that's great.
Basically my goal is to educate and get people doing what I do, right? Because like even though it does create a saturated marketplace for events, it also enhances the overall community experience in Las Vegas. And so that's kind of always been my objective. So I'm down to shed light where I can.
I love it. There's so many things that I want to talk to you about, because I've noticed that while I did spend so much time in the wedding industry, as I cross over the brand, for me to be able to do stuff for like Virgin and things like that, like I need to go a little bit more like personal brand. Mm-hmm. So like Boombox Dave does come alive on all my branding this year.
Especially I've in the roller skate.
Yeah. Well, I've done it before. Like when I did one of the shows at Disco downtown. Where I opened for Bad Boy Bill, and I did that as Boombox Dave, but I was always just like afraid of it. Well, now there's a couple tracks that are like beating through my heart that I might need your help and advice on. But also like even when you talk about the branding, like I want to be able to have like video stuff in the background. Mm-hmm. Like if I get one of those spots, then I even got some cool music video stuff. But there's also some collaboration that I want to talk to you about as well, because I had talked about the idea of like I want to unlock that world. Like through the show, there's like restaurants and stuff like that. Like, but that's why we're bringing on people like you, the people that are very connected through those verticals. But I think like even just something like I was talking to somebody and they were talking about doing like, do you ever watch Flavor Trip? Yeah. Flavor Trip, that couple, they just like DJ and like cook food. It's
sick.
So amazing.
Damn,
but I'm like,
good.
all they do, that's all, but it's so great.
They take turns,
but I'm like, I'm like, how do they get past the licensing for stuff like that? Like that's the legal part that I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought that would be cool is if we did something like that, but for people just out of Vegas, that kind of shines that light to so people can see some of the artists that are coming up here. Because again, that's not my world, but I'm starting to see more studios pop up. I'm starting to see more artists come here.
Yeah.
And as LA, and everyone's talking about Hollywood 2.0 coming here, there's a big music part of that industry that will shift this direction as well. So lots of cool stuff for us to talk about.
Lots of cool things coming to Vegas with the Hollywood 2.0.
Yep.
And we went to some of those meetings and they never once mentioned audio.
Yeah.
Ever. And I was waiting. I was waiting. I was like, and they never said it. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Don't let them know. Yeah.
It's better. It's better. Like they're not even focused on it.
Yeah.
It's a secondary, it's an ancillary thought.
Well,
but it's a major component to everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Another introduction is one of the guys that I was in the Marine Corps with. We took him to his first party. And he stayed in that world, and he went to Full Sail, he went to all the different audio productions, all that stuff. He's been doing audio production in LA this whole time for 20 years, and now he's like, hey, I think I'm going to move to Vegas. There's it's kind of wrapping up there. Do you know, is there a need for audio production? And I was like, I don't know, I'll probably talk to some people. So
there's always a need.
Also, when you said like the whole legal thing, I was like, not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice. This is a disclaimer. But someone in events, when I used to do events, they're like, oh, what's the legal thing around it? I'm like, I usually just do things until somebody asks me to stop.
Yeah.
Step one. And then step two, it's easier to ask for forgiveness and permission sometimes, especially coming into cities like LA. Vegas is probably a little bit different because, depending on the city, if it's an envelope driven city, then you have to, it's more handshakes and relationships, kind of like this town.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how the loopholes work in our industry. It's like,
I agree with the philosophy.
My answer was like, hey, gotta know a guy,
The
but
philosophy is fair, but it just depends. Like once the dollar amount gets to a certain level.
Well, because for me, I was like, oh, we could do something like that on Pursue Vegas. And then on the YouTube channel, then we're DJing. And then all of a sudden, like, we get shadow banned and shut down. I'm like, Tawny's going to be so pissed at me. Like, wait a minute, what happened? Did you ever see Flavor Trip? Yeah, we tried to do that. They shut us down.
I'm down to cook, though, yeah.
Well, so, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people find you? Where can they connect? Give us all the socials, all the handles. It's in the show notes as well, but where can people find you?
Yeah. So for Rage and Recover, it's at rage_and_recover. www.rageandrecover.com. You know, we got all the platforms. It's pretty streamlined across the board. I think X is like, you know, rage and recover ENT.
Yeah.
Some variation, you know, but it's all, if you just type in rage and recover on any browser or anything, it should pop up on the top of the list. So rage and recover, my personal, I go by the artist name of Skrilla. My name is Alexander Skerlich. People used to call me Skrillex in high school, but I didn't like that because I was like, that guy's dope as fuck, and I don't want to take his steez. So I tried to like keep
you get that cease
when
and desist.
He was still
like,
in from first to last. No one knew that though. I was like, did you know who Skrillex was before he was Skrillex? Like that's how old I am.
Sonny. No. I love Skrillex, but I wanted to kind of have, you know, because my last name people mispronounced. They would call me. My last name is.
Notice how I didn't even try to say it.
Yeah, but people call me Skerlich and Skerlich and all kinds of things in between. And so like people in high school were like Skrillex, and that became. So like I was like, it's got to be different. So I adopted in high school A Skrilla. That was my name, Alex Skerlich. A Skrilla. Oh. And so as I got more like this is pre EDM.
Yeah.
As I got into EDM, and after that Res show, I went home to Reno, Nevada. I was going to college over there. I started producing music, and I was like, "What am I going to call myself?" And I'm like, "Why am I going to overcomplicate this? I'm A Skrilla, you know." And then as I developed the brand a little bit, I was like, "I'm going to drop the A because it's kind of confusing."
Yeah,
and it was like Skrilla, one word, you know,
one entity.
Yeah.
And the Facebook.
Exactly.
Meta.
And so
Grandpa is meta now.
So I took over Skrilla, and on social media you can find me at Skrilla, type in Skrilla, or my last name Skerlich_Alexander. Those are my socials across the board. Pretty much a public figure in Vegas. Tried to utilize my name and likeness at that rate because I feel confident in who the fuck I am and where I'm going, and I am excited to continue on this journey. So
I love it.
I appreciate you having me on the podcast. It's very much obliged.
You got it.
Thank you so much for joining our mission. I love meeting souls like this. So you guys know where to find me and Dave on pursue.vegas. Slide into our DM, slide into him. Find him online, please, because there are more of us that exist out there that are on the same mission. If you guys find the need please reach out to us. If we can connect or provide any kind of resources for you guys, do so.
We got this.
Peace.
The idea of Pursue Vegas was to really highlight the local people that really make Vegas, Vegas.
I love that aspect of how these visionaries are actually bringing people together.
When we hit record, our responsibility is to connect the people of our city so we can show the world who we really are.